with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to Countywide. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Jenn Cohen. Today we're talking with Stephen Everett. He is an epidemiologist and the section manager for Communicable Disease for Yavapai County Community Health Services. Thank you for being in the studio.
My pleasure.
Oh my gosh, we've made it through flu season almost. Is it almost over yet?
Yeah, well, sort of. What we're doing is we're on the downtrend for influenza A, and influenza B tends to show up later in the season. It doesn't show up as much as flu A, but it'll extend right in through May. So even though most of it's gone, we still have to be careful.
There's still a chance through
Yes.
May. Oh my gosh, okay. If you go to YavapaiHealth.com, there's lots of information for you there about things that are currently going on in our area, what you need to worry about, information on all the 85 different infectious diseases that we're almost going to talk about each one today. But hopefully not every single one of them.
No.
That would take way too many shows. But YavapaiHealth.com has lots of information for you if you need more on any subject we cover today. So we're almost out of flu season, so that's good. Now, something interesting happened the other week in Pima County. A 1-year-old baby came back from a trip abroad with the measles.
Yes, to come back with measles. The child was under 1, so wasn't old enough to get the vaccine yet. So this is one of the reasons we vaccinate, because babies can't be vaccinated, so we have to protect the people around them. We call it cocooning. And so as far as we know, there haven't been any additional cases with it, which is very lucky when it comes to measles. It's one of the most highly infectious diseases in the world. Wow.
How does it spread? Why is it so infectious?
It's airborne, and it can stay in the air up to 4 hours. So when a person goes into an emergency room with measles, and they're breathing out the virus, it can linger in the air for 4 hours. So what we have to worry about is not just the people he could have transmitted to while he was in the emergency room, but all the people that came in through there in the 4 hours after. That's staff, cleaning people, the family of the people who are sick. It can be really crazy doing an investigation for that.
Gosh. And what's the incubation period for measles?
Incubation is about 10 days. And it can go up to 21 days. But usually it goes in for about 10 days, 14 days. But what we'll do is we'll watch the people who were exposed 21 days, and then we'll watch another generation, just make sure we didn't miss anyone.
Sure. And from the discovery of the case in the 1-year-old, we're 10 days out or more by now?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and so far so good.
So far so good.
So far so good. Okay, that's good. How many, what's the percentage you think of people that are vaccinated versus aren't for things like measles?
And usually around the country, it's about 93%. Unfortunately, Yavapai has very low rates. On the Prescott side, it's pretty good, but it's Verde Valley Sedona is one of the lowest in the state. It's only at about 89, 90%. So there would be a risk of it being transmitted here.
Right. Now, why do you think that is? Is it because, we hear a lot about people not vaccinating anymore, and, the trends of this way and the other way. And well, who is it in the population that's on the not vaccination bandwagon?
Well, here in Arizona, it's really easy to get personal exemptions. So we think that a lot of it has to do with just the convenience factor. It's much easier to write the exemption out, and just intend to get the vaccine later than it is to actually go in to get the shot. Actually, a funny story is I did a personal exemption once because I had my kid set up twice for the shot, and both times he had a fever. So I had to wait for that in the next appointment. They needed the paperwork. So. But that tends to be the reason. It's just very easy. There are people who are against vaccination, and that can cause a problem, like in the Pacific Northwest right now, in Oregon, Washington, very low numbers, ranging like the mid 70%. So you see a lot of spread.
Wow. Now, what's your chance of getting measles if you're not vaccinated?
If you're not vaccinated, very high. Like I said, it's one of the most infectious diseases. A lot of people get it. Back before we had the vaccine, people born before 1959, which is when the vaccine was introduced, we just assumed that they had measles. And most of the time we're right.
Wow. Is there a chance even vaccinated?
Yes. Yeah, there's always a chance the vaccination doesn't take. And so even though you get the shot, your body didn't respond to it. That's a lot of times why we have the multiple shots, especially with infants. The reason we have to wait a year is when a child is born, they have the mother's antibodies, and that'll fall off after time. So that's why babies, they're usually pretty healthy for the first 6 months. Then after 6 months, they have like a fever every day or so.
Yes,
it's
I remember
because now they're building up their immune system.
Oh, very clever. And I know with vaccines, there's different types.
Yes.
Can you explain the different types for us?
Well, there's a live virus vaccine where it's an actual live virus, but it's in a weakened state, so it can't transmit to other people. Then there's there's dead virus, which the virus is essentially it's all chopped up, because what we're interested in are the proteins that make up the virus. So it's kind of like just sending the virus's skin in with the vaccine, and then the body will recognize the proteins, create antibodies, and that's what attach and let the white blood cells know to come in and destroy it.
Very good. So when someone gets vaccinated with, say, the measles vaccine, and that's the live virus.
Yes.
And they're going to have what the doctor calls side effects. However, you've explained this differently to me, which I think is
yeah, side
fascinating.
effects, usually the side effects people get would be a sore arm where the needle went in, and fever. Those tend to be the most. But really, fever's not so much a side effect as a response for your body, response of your body to the vaccine. So the body recognizes that it's being invaded. It creates the antibodies, but it also raises the temperature of the body to make it less environmental quality for the virus to grow. Viruses and bacteria tend to like a very specific temperature range. So if you put it outside, they don't reproduce as fast.
Excellent. So we can look at the fever as a sign that the vaccine is working versus a side effect.
Correct.
Which is it's a great thing. It's a shift
as long
in
as it's a
perspective.
low-grade fever. If it does go into a high, definitely go see your doctor.
Okay. Well, there you go. Wow. Now, back to the baby with the measles, came over from Asia, came into Pima County. How big of a deal is that when something like that
For
happens?
epidemiologists, vary, because we have to track every single person that was exposed, not just at the time directly exposed to the person, but any time afterwards. I don't know if you're aware, but we had a measles case in California that passed through Sedona. So we had to follow up with a restaurant that the person stayed at, went to a rental car company. So we had to get a list of all the people that rented cars in the afternoon after that. It can get very, very detailed.
Wow, that gets complicated fast.
Very.
I mean, it spreads out to, one person traveling through a town. Suddenly there's 1,000 people you need to talk to.
Exactly.
Wow.
And a lot of people, they're coming in from out of the country, so they go through airports. You can only imagine the amount of people there, and they're flying off to other countries, other states.
Wow.
So it can get really crazy.
Wow. Is it a rare incident for us to have measles show up in Arizona, or is this something that, we get 1 or 2 a year?
You get 1 or 2 a year, every other year. I think the last one was about 2 years ago, where it was, I think it was in a prison. So we're worried about not so much the prisoners, because they're contained, but the guards catching it. They go out into the community.
Right.
But fortunately, none of them came back positive.
Okay.
So that was good.
Wow, geez Louise. Now, if someone's freaking out there, measles, and they haven't been vaccinated, if they go to their doctor and get vaccinated, does it do them any good if it's present in the community?
Yes, actually it will. It may not actually stop them from getting the measles, but it will help mitigate the symptoms.
Okay, well that's good to know.
So,
well great, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking with Stephen Everett. He's the Epidemiologist and Section Manager for Communicable Diseases. Ooh, exciting stuff we're talking about. Check out YavaPaiHealth.com. We'll be right back, so don't go away.
Do you feel like people are avoiding you? Don't be a dreaded spreader. Protect yourself and those around you from flu. Here's 3 things you should do. Get a flu vaccine each year. Take everyday preventive actions to stop the spread of germs, like covering coughs and sneezes and washing your hands, and stay home if you're sick. If you do get the flu, contact a healthcare professional right away and take flu antivirals if prescribed. Don't be a dreaded spreader. Take 3 steps to fight flu.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter, your religion or, what part of the world you're from, that just sort of all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
Yo siento que soy parte de esa bendición que ese niño recibió al irse a su casa ya sanado.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Mandalay Homes introduces the new Ion series, a revolutionary new approach to home building innovation and energy management. Built on a foundation of industry-leading energy efficiency and sustainable building practices, the Ion Series home redefines how we use and manage renewable energy. Contact a Mandalay Home sales executive today to learn more, or visit one of our Ion Series communities throughout northern Arizona.
Welcome back to Countywide. You're going to check out YavaPaiHealth.com. Lots of great information on various communicable diseases, on vaccinations, on all kinds of stuff. Plus, there'll be lists of clinics that are happening, all kinds of stuff on YavaPaiHealth.com. We're talking with Stephen Everett. He's the Epidemiologist and Section Manager for Communicable Diseases. We've been talking about communicable diseases, specifically measles. We had one case pop up last week over in Pima County. What does the measles look like?
Probably the most characteristic symptom of measles is the rash. It's a red splotchy rash that comes over. What's interesting is when a person gets it, the rash starts at the hairline and works its way down through the body. So it'll start at the hairs, go down to the toes, and then when you recover, it starts again at the body, goes down to your toes. So if you're getting a rash that's like all over or just specific areas, it's likely not measles. Then what else you're looking for? Of course, fever, which is a common response. Then what we call the 3 C's, which is cough, conjunctivitis, which is inflammation of the eye, and coryza, which I think they just used a C for that just to get it in there because it's runny nose. So I think they just struggle to get
a word for runny nose. Okay. And if anyone out there says, oh my gosh, I may have it, call your doctor first before going anywhere because it is so contagious. You don't want to take yourself into a room with a lot of other people. You want to say, hey doc, I'm experiencing this. What do you think? Definitely call before you go if you think you may have contracted measles. Absolutely. Countries where this is a prominent thing. Asia.
For measles, Asia, Europe, in another case, low vaccine rates. So we're seeing a lot. Switzerland is well known for having lots of measles. But usually developing countries are where you can have the large rates. There's about tens of millions of cases of measles a year. And people think, it's just a childhood disease, people get over it. Over 100,000 people die of measles every year. And the vast majority, of course, are in developed countries, but still, it is a deadly disease. Some people can develop encephalitis, pneumonia, and so there's always a chance, even if it doesn't kill you, you can have side effects of it that can last an entire life.
Complications.
Sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh. All right. So there's the measles. What else do we deal with it in Arizona specifically yearly?
Arizona, we're coming into mosquito season, so there we would worry about West Nile virus. We don't have so much in the Prescott side, but here in the Verde Valley, we do see it. For most people, is really no effect. They might have some symptoms, very mild, again, fever. But usually people are asymptomatic. The body sees it, responds to it, builds the antibodies, never show any symptoms. It's usually in older people that they tend to have the symptoms. That's what we worry about.
Interesting. I know with the West Nile and the mosquitoes, it affects livestock.
Yes.
People with horses get particularly concerned about that. And I know last year we had, it showed up along the Verde. It showed up in the Page Springs area. It showed up, in Cornville. It's showing up. What can we do to protect ourselves or our livestock against West Nile?
Best thing you can do for livestock is to limit the breeding grounds of the mosquitoes that carry it. So you want to get rid of any standing water around your property. And when it stays standing water, even the smallest amount, you could actually take a bottle cap, fill it with water, leave it out, and they can actually grow in that bottle cap as long as there's water in it.
Wow.
So they don't need a lot of water.
You have to be really vigilant at your property, especially when we're going through monsoon season, which is going to come through, and of course run around and just don't have anything where water collects. Well, it collects in everything. Yeah. In your gutters, in all kinds of stuff. So take time to prepare your property and keep away from that. Yeah. Now, rabies is also a big thing, a big communicable disease we deal with here.
Yeah, we do have rabies here in the Yavapai County in Arizona. We usually see it in foxes, wildcats. We did have a cougar that had it. Not so much in the skunks. Skunks can carry it at normal carrying, but we really don't see that much here in the state in Arizona with skunks. That tends to be more. Actually, in Yavapai County, we don't see a lot of it. Down in south, we do see it in skunks.
In skunks, huh?
And of course, bats.
Right, bats. That's usually where it shows up first, it seems. The bats, somebody's, the bats, or a fox. Last year was crazy with foxes.
Yes.
Foxes everywhere.
Yes.
Rabid foxes biting people and stuff. Wow. What do you do there?
They have no fear.
Yeah.
Because it affects the brain. So, if you're out, you see a fox, try walking away from it. If it starts following you, throw rocks at it, try to get away from you. Do not run, because they're predators. So when it just triggers them to chase. So you want to avoid that.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Hence the story of the runner who was running and the fox attached itself to her arm and she kept running.
Yes,
and
exactly.
took it back to her car with her
to
get help. Hopefully she's okay.
That's right.
It's not something you want to have happen. So yes, if a wild animal that normally would run away from you is looking at you or walking towards you, that should raise alarms. Carry a stick and certain. Now, rabies happens primarily, it can be year-round, but it's primarily in the summertime?
It's usually year-round. Probably really don't know how much rabies is out there because it's in wildlife. And so people really don't have as much exposure to the wildlife. And so we have no idea. We usually look for die-offs up in Coconino with groundhogs.
Right.
We would have it, and we'd see groundhog die-off, and that's usually an indication that there's plague going around or rabies.
Oh my gosh! And and then there's the plague.
Yep.
But I don't know. We have to take a break in a moment, but we're going to get into the plague too. That's something else.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned that your job, you follow 85 different infectious diseases.
Yes.
85. That's what you do all day. You're looking for 85 diseases and writing reports and keeping tabs of everything. That's fascinating.
It's a lot of fun.
He says it's a lot of fun. He deals with 85 infectious diseases, and he says this is a lot of fun. If you want more information, go to yavapaihealth.com. Lots of great stuff for you there. Vaccination clinics, information on diseases. Please don't freak out. Everything's going to be fine. We've got a little bit more countywide left. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back, so don't go away.
What does it look like when a life is truly changed?
I feel a sense of accomplishment because I built a house. This house has brought us financial independence.
It's a great place to raise a family.
Strength, fuerza. When I look back where we've come from to where we are today, it makes my heart very happy.
Potential. Potencia.
For me, this house means all of us together.
Sorry.
Security.
Security.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world through shelter, we empower.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few moments left. I'm Jenn Cohen. We're talking with Stephen Everett. He's an epidemiologist. We've been talking about following 85 different infectious diseases. We talked about the measles. We've talked about flu season. We've talked about rabies. Now, you mentioned before the break the plague.
Yes.
Ooh, the plague.
Plague we have here in Arizona. You know, people usually associate it with, you know, medieval times, whole populations being wiped out. We haven't had an actual human plague case. We haven't had the past 15 years since I've been here, at least, and probably a lot longer before that. Usually where we see it is actually in cats, outdoor cats that will go. Their natural prey would be rabbits, rats, mice, and that's where we usually see plague in wildlife. So they'll attack a rat. The fleas that carry the plague will jump from the rat onto the cat. The cat will catch it and can get very sick and even die. But that's where we first locate it. Veterinarians will call us, say, we suspect plague, and then we follow it from there.
Okay. Now, can that cross species? Can that go from cats to humans?
Absolutely. It's extremely rare. There have only been a couple cases where a cat will breathe on the owner, and their breath will carry the plague and infect their owners.
Ew. Wow, cats love that. They love getting up in your faces and breathing on you.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. We just keep up on your flea regimen, and it should be fine. If your cat is, you know, taking care of with the flea.
Especially if it's an outdoor cat.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, gosh. Okay. Zika virus, that's another thing we think about.
Zika virus, it's carried by the same mosquito that carries West Nile virus. Fortunately, we haven't seen it here in Arizona yet. It's possible. Don't know if it will actually cross over the border, but we do see it in Mexico. So anyone that's pregnant or planning on having kids within about a year, you want to, and that goes for both males and females, or at least the planning on getting pregnant part. You want to make sure when you go to the obstetrician to say that you've been to Mexico, been to South America, the Caribbean, and be tested.
Wow. Okay, there you go. That's something to think about for would-be parents, or, you know, parents in the making, things like that. Okay, so we think of vaccines, things we do when we're kids.
Yes.
And then once I'm adult, I don't have to worry about it anymore. That's not true.
That is not true. Well, other than get the flu shot every year, what you want to do every 10 years, you want to get what's known as the Tdap, which is tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, which is whooping cough. Mostly every 10 years because of tetanus, because your tetanus antibodies will drop off, and so you need that boost after 10 years. But it also protects you against whooping cough. Adults can get whooping cough. It tends to be a milder form of it. It's just a persistent cough. Sometimes they won't have symptoms at all. So again, what you're doing is you're protecting infants that can't get it. They have much more serious symptoms. They can die from whooping cough. So again, what you want to do is vaccinate the people around the baby and cocoon it so it's protected.
Oh, very good. So don't just think of yourself, think of everyone around you.
Yes.
Keep yourself vaccinated there. Okay. And as we get older, do we now need to start getting more vaccines?
Oh, absolutely. When you hit 50, you want to ask your doctor about getting the shingles shot. Those who know shingles, it's a very unpleasant disease. It's actually caused by chicken pox.
Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh.
So that'll, again, it'll boost your symptoms, boost your immune symptoms. The new Shingrix shot is much more effective. So it's a good thing to get. Once you get older, you also want to get your Haemophilus influenza or Hib shot, your pneumococcal pneumonia shot. Again, check with your doctors, see if you need to get those shots.
Great, Stephen. Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Go to YavaPaiHealth.com. That's all we've got for Countywide. See you again next time.